Yeah, I
Yes.
can hear you. How are you doing today?
Good. Yeah, pleasure to be connected.
Yeah, so basically, I was chasing you for a month, and we finally get together because there is a time zone issue, and it's 9 p.m. here, so it probably may be morning time in your area.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, so basically, I just have two questions to ask you. You don't have enough time. I saw your schedule, so you are busy, and basically, my name is Bilal Khan. I'm a founder of Book Loop that I recently launched today, and I'm a
Okay.
I'm a AWS community builder, and I also create content on YouTube and Hashnode related to Golang and DevOps. So these are the things that I discuss about most in the Twitter and feed and the YouTube. So yeah, and I recently started contributing to open source, and my basically I faced some issues, and I read your article about this topic also, that first good first issues don't exist. So I really like that article. But
Okay.
yeah, so but my problem is this: if you start contributing to open source, there are many projects that are present on GitHub. We don't know which project to contribute to. Otherwise, basically, there are, let's say if I have a Go programming language or a Java, so related to that programming language, in just one programming language, there are a lot of projects that are present on GitHub. So we don't know which project to contribute into. I tried out many stuff, like I contributed to Kubernetes, contributed to DigitalOcean, and I contributed to some other companies' projects also. But my problem was that I was not sticking to one project to contribute continuously. So I was thinking that which project to contribute to, because I found some of the projects that were not much responsive, like the closed PRs were not that much responsive, and they were taking much time to give the response as compared to few other projects that I contributed into. So this is the problem that I'm facing, that which project to select or to contribute into, so that I can stick for some time and make valuable contributions into it instead of switching from one place to another. Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone has the same question. It really comes down to the open source really started as an opportunity for people to share what they're working on, and if people wanted to come and contribute, then they could. And there's like been this really it's not as clear, and it comes down to like the best places you can contribute to are things you're using already. So like if you went to build something and you found out like it was broken, like that's a contribution to say, hey, when I went to build it this way, it didn't work, or when I ran the command in this environment, it didn't work, and those become the contributions. So like as a first time contributor looking for good first issues, onboarding issues are always the best things to do, because that gets you in part of a you're fixing a pain point. And then like that also solves the people aren't as responsive. Well, they're not responsive because either it's not their focus, or because they don't have the bandwidth to even onboard people and to have a conversation with them because they're elsewhere. So if the onboarding, it's like think of it like a funnel, like in marketing.
So what is
So you know
onboarding?
YouTube
So
content.
could you just clarify to me onboarding good first issues? I didn't understand it.
Yeah, so onboarding as in like you found the project, or it took you a while to find a project. How do you get to contributing to the project? So that's onboarding. Usually, it's going to be like read the contributing guide, do this step, do this step, do this step. But most projects don't have that structure. And if somebody became the expert of like, I can help you with putting structure in place to onboard people in there, then that's a great first contribution. And most people skip that because if you get no response, or you can't find out how to contribute, you won't contribute. But that's like it's a catch 22 where if someone put the time in to put the steps in to contribute, then more people would contribute. But it just comes down to like no one has the time to do it.
All right. So after the onboarding contribution, you will switch to another things that are relevant to the projects, like installing the software or other things. but from first you want to make the what you can say the structure of the application or the structure of the project to make it more clearly, like adding the code of the conduct or the contribution guide or other kind of documentation that are missing. And after that, if you fix that, you can switch to other area of that project, right?
Yeah, and it's like you don't ever switch off that part. Like you're always improving that. It's like it's never done because the project will always change. Um, but it then comes back to it once you figure out how to where all the pieces are. The other part that everyone falls over on is like I want to I could use the project and install it from like a Go dependency. Like I can install that easily, but when I run it local, like sometimes that's different. So if you, like, I don't know if you run Linux or if you're on a Windows machine, but every situation's different. But there's not enough Docker images out there for people to, like, someone like just adding Docker to a project to be able to have a centralized place and how you could on basically how you can get started to work on the project locally. That also is a missing piece because if I am using my Mac, I use a Mac OS and it works on my machine and it installs properly using the commands I have on Mac, but I don't take into consideration anybody on Linux. And the reason for that is I don't have Linux. But if someone came to my project with Linux and was like, hey, when I tried to install it, these are the Linux commands. I'd be like, oh, thank you so much. Let's document that.
All right. So basically, I just have idea in my mind that why not to use the things, use the projects that I'm contributing to projects that I'm myself using, as you mentioned here. So yeah, I'm using Ubuntu. So I decided why not to find the repositories on GitHub or that are relevant to my programming language or other things that are relevant to Ubuntu, so that I can contribute into. So yeah, I found it, and the documentation was really good, and I read it. And but some of the things that I missed out. But I'm planning to contribute into it. But so here is another question that I asked from other people also, that which project to contribute to, like in terms of individual projects or companies project, if someone wants to get a job. Like currently I'm an I'm employed person, so I really want to get a job in the market, so that based on my contribution. So whether I should contribute to the company's project so that I can be prepared before getting a job in that company, or maybe if that company is not hiring me, should I contribute to individual projects like Kubernetes or other projects that are not what you can say providing the
Yeah, so
employment.
like this is what we're trying to solve for open source. Like this is the idea here is like you should be able to showcase your skill and what you've done and what your interests are. So like when you go through the onboarding of open source, you like choose your. So far it's limited to languages, but you choose the languages you're interested in, and then we start recommending based on what your interest is. So if Go is your interest, or if you already know what projects you're looking for, like you're able to search for them. But the idea here is like you should be able to just add them to a list, and then that list becomes Bilal's projects or work or whatever. Like this will be the stuff that you're looking at these projects. These could be whatever you want, but you're looking at these projects to then find out when there's opportunity for things to contribute to. And so to answer your question, like company projects are probably the ones that have the least amount of effort put into them, because a lot of times they'll have a project where they didn't put a lot of time into sort of structuring the demo. So like there's let's see, actually here's a great example, like the CNCF projects. Like they specifically have companies that are specifically back these projects, and they need constant contribution and iteration. Like these are extremely active projects. So like a lot of these like are Go projects, like Helm will be like super approachable. Actually, is it a Go? Yeah, Go project. And the case here is like companies eventually would have a job board associated to repos. And the goal here is like if I want to go find people as a company, and these are the projects that I care about, I'm going to look here in the list and find out who's been contributing, and then start adding them to the list of folks that I want to reach out to and talk to. So like this will be way more clear in the next like month or so. We're still working on some more features, but yeah, companies do open source because they want to do a couple different things. One, they want to attract talent so they can showcase that they're doing something in the space that people are interested in and they're relevant. And then the other thing is like they want to be able to talk about something publicly. A lot of times stuff is private, can't talk about it. It's all within their GitHub or GitLab repos. But in the case of open source, like this is the stuff they can talk about, and it gives them a lot of validation in the space. So like the best thing you could do is like one, look through all the stuff that you're familiar with that you've actually installed and leveraged, and in the Go ecosystem, it's so much, especially DevOps, so much stuff. A lot of that's open source. Create a list of projects that you want to track. And then what we're going to be doing pretty soon is we're going to have like recommendations to start recommending people who are interested in certain projects. So I think here you go. The idea here is like based on your interest, you'll have recommended projects here, and you'll get alerted when there's opportunity for you to jump in. And then that opportunity to jump in, be a part of a community, like it's better to work on one project in a community that's backed by a company than work on 5, because once you show up and you show that you're a valuable person in the community, then the question is like, well, why aren't they working for us? Like it should be obvious to them of like, oh wow, they've been like helping us out and answering questions, and every release they test and they get feedback on, and they're in our Discord. Like those are the type of things that I think most people will submit 100 applications a day, but they won't spend time in a Discord and chat and like do 100 chats a day and like respond to PRs and like just be helpful. Is like the mindset is like you have to be everywhere so that way you get noticed. When the real value is like if you show up in like this project, which is a Rust project, in this project, and you're just helpful. And this project actually is it's like 3 people maintain it throughout the week, like not a lot of activity. These are fake numbers, but what I'm getting at is like if you were showed up and you're like, hey, you know what? Actually, I do like this project. I can be helpful. Let me see if I can unblock stuff, and let me just stick with this project. It's a lot easier to get noticed than trying to contribute to 100 projects. But I would say contributing to 100 projects really well will also get you noticed. It's just that most people don't start there.
Yeah, so I don't want to be to distribute myself into contributing to multiple projects. Instead, I just want to be focused on one thing so that I can make valuable contributions there. And I get noticed in that project that, hey, this person is contributing here, so maybe he will be a valuable person for us in the company if they want to hire me or another person. So yeah. So
yeah, where are you? You're based in Pakistan?
Yeah.
Where are you based out of?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like you even called out like the time zone difference is so huge from West Coast US where all the people are getting hired in versus like where you're at 12 hours away. So the challenge, and I have this challenge now because like we're also interviewing folks in India and other places, it is a time zone. So if I can expect somebody will be present and active in a community despite their time zone, I have more confidence that they would be a good asset to the team. But if I have to wake up at 4 a.m., which is like the challenge that we have with the scheduling this call, like if I have to wake up at 4 a.m., I'm probably not going to do it because like I don't know who you are. I've seen you around on Twitter, but it's like I'm now putting more investment in you than you're putting investment in the relationship. So when it comes to like being hired, like if you just show up and you're just like a valid like person and you could Google your name and you've got blog posts and you've got contributions, you got an open source profile, that validates you so much more than just having a Twitter or just having some contributions. And that's the thing that most maintainers, most people who work and hire internationally, all they're trying to do is just find out if this person's going to stick around and they can be counted on. And unfortunately, that the truth is like most people like will give a good first 3 months, but then after 3 months, then you're like, oh, I don't want to stay up late anymore. Something came up, or I think today's a holiday for some people, and I guess it's Easter for some people in Eastern Europe. But they like if you can't count on the people to like show up and be active members of the community and of the team, then you start questioning like if they're really need on the team, which is a challenge. So, best thing you do is like show up consistently, be a part of a community, and yeah, go from there.
Yeah, so these are the things that I'm currently practicing to do with. But is this necessary to be wake up in the on the night in order to contribute, or should I communicate asynchronously? So if I submit something and
Yeah,
then
so asynchronous communication is probably the real key. Like I'll give you an example. Um, I get a bunch of contributions all the time, and we just actually brought on two interns from the GitHub education program. Um, and the way we sort of validated like folks who were coming through this program was based on their communication skill. So this person gave a screenshot. So like we're basically building a Chrome extension. They gave me a screenshot of what it looks like, and then they added one line. But like they didn't talk about anything about their code. They didn't talk about any challenges. They didn't talk about how they solved the problem, whether they use any sort of like Stack Overflow questions. And my thing, and then I think Victor is actually based in Nigeria. So like he wasn't somebody we selected because communication was very low. And I think actually I don't think I even grabbed this. But if I go to like Kevin's another person as well, we'll go through one of his close PRs. But I'm basically blindly picking one because like this title here, feedback, not a great title. So like that's already showing me like there's this would be hard to communicate with this engineer. Other thing it's a pet peeve of mine is no avatar. No avatar, no time zone, no location. So like I have no idea what I'm getting into if this person comes on board with the team. At least if they're in another time zone, I can prepare for that. But I get no preparation. I think it's very common for folks to not put their time zone on location because they want to have a better fit for getting a remote job. But in reality, you're hurting yourself because if I get on call with this person, I find out they're in a whole nother time zone, and it's great for the first 12 months, and then after that they start going back to their old time zone, and I can never catch up with them or talk to them. Then it's pretty limited. But yeah, anyway, asynchronous communication, being very clear on what you've done, how you got here, like share a story, because that's going to be read much faster than this right here is not very great. Like not formatted properly. Like I don't know what the context of why he's doing this, and like I didn't have enough energy to even want to look into this. But hopefully that's helpful. I have to actually jump to another call.
no, yes.
But yeah, I would encourage you, like if you haven't done already, set up your open source profile, and then create a page of projects you're interested in. Our Discord is super helpful. Like we do a lot of intros. We have a feature that we'll ship for intros in the future. And the goal is like we want to start introing people to make contributions. It's just that we have to start with who are the people who want to make contributions first.
Yeah, so I will be really happy to contribute and I will join the open source and the Discord channel. So is the Discord link on the open source page, or I need to find somewhere
Yeah,
else?
it's all the way in the footer. Yeah, you'll see a Discord button.
All right, so I will definitely join it and be in touch with you later on. All right. So thank you
Okay,
for your help.
cool. Cheers.
Yeah, really happy to talk with you. Thank you.